So just a quick little disclaimer before we get going on this one. Today's topic is primarily hypothetical. Um, just the rumor mill spinning a little bit, based on heavy speculation and, of course, the typical or traditional 7-year lifespan of a console. Um, And I know that pretty much everything I'm going to touch on here doesn't really matter. It's going to be business as usual based on the decisions of some out of touch, tone deaf executives that don't really have their fingers on the pulse of anything that isn't directly tied to a bank account. Um, but I don't particularly view the potential 2027 release of the PS6 is necessary. And the proof as to why is in the pudding, as they say. Um, you know, to start with, I think we can all pretty much universally agree that due to certain world events, um, this generation has been sufficiently borked since the beginning. I mean, people have um, only been able to reliably and consistently walk into a store and grab the console of their choosing off the shelves within, oh, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 years, maybe, give or take a little bit. And then if we want to break it down even further on the Xbox side of things, they put all of their eggs in the Halo Infinite as a launch title basket, which obviously didn't work out very well for them. So their plan B was to instead back their homegrown studio projects, such as Redfall or whatever that game was called, and the more um, acquisitional stuff like Starfield to push consoles, and I wouldn't necessarily say that that worked out for them the way they wanted it to either. Um, and ultimately, they came out waving the uh, white flag, saying that PlayStation has essentially already won this console generation. And they said that, as a company, they intend to switch direction and switch gears a little bit. I think more so leaning towards doing the Sega thing of being like a publisher and stuff like that, as opposed to just the straight up console manufacturer. Essentially, they intend to exist as an entity uh, outside just the physical Xbox, which I think has been part of their MO now for quite some time. And then on the PlayStation side of things, the chief argument that I've always heard is that the PlayStation 5 has no games, which I don't think is true. I think that is an issue that stems from everything being also released on the PS4. Now, yes, I think that was a really clever way to keep the ball rolling, so to speak, um, and keep everybody's head above water during difficult times in the short term. But in the long term, I think it's proven to be more damaging than anything else. You've effectively erased any real necessity or drive to upgrade to the newest PlayStation. Um, People have already played your excuse me, your God of War Ragnaroks and your Horizon Forbidden West, your Resident Evil Villages, your Spider-Man 2s, you get the point. The list goes on and on. And now that, people can finally get their hands on this generation, there's arguably just not that many heavy hitters left to play at the moment. And then there's things like the PSVR 2, which was price-wise the equivalent of buying a second PS5 on top of the one that you're already paying for, which is already discontinued at this point. And then there's the PS5 Pro, which is a couple $100 above the base model price, with an additional fee for the optional disk drive. And I don't know, maybe it's just my untrained naked eyes, but I've seen the side-by-side comparisons, and there just doesn't seem to be that many differences, and if they're there, they're minute to the point that I almost don't see a point in it. And I have no idea how well they've sold ultimately. Hopefully well. But my point is this. The games industry, just like any other out there, is constantly evolving, right? We're not in the same place that we were a decade ago, even 5 years ago. And I think it's okay to evolve and adjust accordingly with it. I think it's okay for them to come out and say, some crazy shit has happened that has affected the entire world, that is largely outside of anybody's control, and so we've got to change things up. We are not and can't do things the same way that they've always been done. And I don't know, I just don't see the necessity in pushing super hard for the next generation. I mean, if in fact Xbox has dropped out of the console game, for better or worse, there goes your primary competition right there. Yes, there is still Nintendo, but they've kind of carved out their own little niche of the gaming space, to the degree that I don't think they're going to mess with PlayStation, and PlayStation's not going to touch them. And PlayStation has already expanded their reach to the PC market in recent years. They've already got a pretty decent wave of previously exclusive Xbox titles coming, releasing on PlayStation as essentially brand new releases to a fresh audience. So, all in all, I just don't see a reason not to take it slow this time around. Now, I'm not saying don't make them at all. I know ultimately the PS6 and whatever the next Xbox turns out to be, is gonna come whether I like it or not. I'm just saying that, if you came out and you said, hey guys, we're gonna let you ride out your base models and your pros for a couple extra years, and we're not gonna start thinking about the PS6 uh, until, I don't know, somewhere between 2030 and maybe even 2031. I don't think a lot of people are going to care, personally. I don't see a lot of backlash coming from that. Um, but of course, that is just my humble opinion. Um, so, as always, guys, that's going to wrap this up. And, um, take care of yourselves. Thanks for watching. And until next time, we will see you in the next one.